It's safe to say that Hamilton's departure has left a massive dent that needs to be filled in by any other driver than the 7-time world champion, which would definitely be a mission impossible for the majority of the choices that the Brackley-based squad has out there. This is by far the biggest impact that Hamilton has left with his move. Mercedes needing to replace him and build a brand around Russell, or the replacement that would come for the 7-time world champion. As we all know, Hamilton was much more than just a driver for Mercedes. He has won 6 championships with the Brackley-based squad, and apart from that, he's built a brand with the team from 2014 to 2020, when the team saw its dominance take place. So, when you say Mercedes, the first thing that comes to mind is Hamilton. And now that he's gone to Ferrari, you could only imagine how hard it would be for Mercedes to find a proper replacement for the team's most successful driver in terms of championships. But while it does seem impossible, it's not something that cannot be done if Mercedes are brave enough to embark on a move that could see them winning a championship prior to 2026, such as signing Alonso. Yes, there is no doubt that this is a very wild scenario, and Mercedes could be shooting for something far away from achievable. But if you think about the bombshell that Alonso has dropped on Alpine in 2022, this is something that suits his style and his character as a driver. After all, he would prove to the world that he is in fact a driver who can be better in the same machinery as Hamilton, something he failed to prove back in their rivalry days at McLaren in 2007. Be that as it may, the team would benefit much more from Alonso's experience than they could possibly imagine, and considering the fact that Hamilton left them without even testing the 2024 car, it goes to show that he doesn't have any trust that the Brackley-based squad is going in the right direction with their project. This speaks volumes when it comes to Alonso's potential mission in Mercedes, so whether or not the team would push towards bringing him alongside Russell, time will tell. As of now, the only certain thing is that Alonso is not happy with where the AMR 24, the name of Aston Martin's 2024 Challenger, is headed, as he pointed out towards steering issues with the car testing on the simulator. While it's safe to say that Alonso's statements could be labelled as sandbagging, the 2-time world champion would definitely consider a move to Mercedes if it comes to his table, which would inevitably put him in a very good position to win championships from 2025 onwards. And if he agrees to sign this contract before the beginning of the 2024 season, then he would have internal information regarding the 2025 car, something that Hamilton would be cut short of, and something that would definitely impact the development of the entire season. Now, apart from Alonso, who is now one of the few logical solutions to Mercedes' crisis, another driver who's making a run for his money is Carlos Sainz. Now, if you think about it, Sainz is the most logical replacement for Hamilton because he is, in fact, the driver who's been replaced by Ferrari. The 2 wins with the Maranello team did not come in very handy when it comes to pursuing the Maranello team in a new contract. And although many believe that he didn't have what it takes to be Leclerc's teammate, on many occasions, Sainz's intelligence has come into view as he was calling his own tactics and deciding his own fate. And if this logical solution were to happen in the first place, it would cause the fewest shakeups in the entire grid, because no other drivers would be involved in the entire scenario. It would be a simple swap between Sainz and Hamilton. However, Mercedes are definitely more favoured to sign a driver of Alonso's calibre, simply because of the brand and the experience the Spaniard is bringing to the table compared to his compatriot. So, assuming that they would go with Sainz is definitely not the likely outcome of this entire scenario. Which brings us to the next talking point, and that is the shake-up in the entire grid regarding Sainz's move to Sauber and then Audi. Carlos Sainz is very likely to pursue his Audi dream, considering that his father has very close relationships with the German manufacturers from the Dakar Rally, and that Sainz would definitely be the #1 driver on that team. Obviously, Audi made it clear that they're not very keen on keeping the duo of Bottas and Zhou, even though both of Sauber's drivers have shared their willingness to continue the collaboration with the German team, which is highly unlikely to happen in the first place. If Sainz decides to move to Sauber for 2025, it won't be the best decision in his career, because he would basically be at the bottom of the table, and then from 2026 onwards, he would have a proper opportunity to race the grid at the front, which is why he could be accepting a role in Red Bull if it's offered to him. Reuniting with Verstappen may not be the most wanted option in his career, but it could very well be the best one he has on the table, as he would be sitting in the most powerful car on the grid. A scenario that comes with a curse, which is to be the teammate of a 3-time reigning world champion, who would likely win the 4th title by the time Sainz joins the team. This would put Perez out of the sport, as there would be zero to no place for him in any other team. But maybe if Alonso decides to join Mercedes and Sainz opts out for his Sauber Audi future, Perez could decide his own fate and join Aston Martin's vacant place. After all, the Silverstone-based team has worked heavily on their 2026 project, and it seems like they have a lot of belief that they could be competitive in the times to come, which might not be 2024 or 2025, but will definitely happen in 2026. Now, Sergio Perez's future with Red Bull is more or less a done deal. Now that the Mexican driver has received all kinds of mixed feelings from team boss Christian Horner, who stated that it's his seat to lose and he would have to keep up the number 2 spot on the grid if he was to be considered a Red Bull driver in the foreseeable future. On the other hand, Red Bull would definitely need a very strong driver next to Verstappen in order to keep him safe from the underlying threats that Leclerc and Hamilton would pose from 2025 onwards, not to mention McLaren's uprise and the youngest duo Norris and Piastri always looming in the dark with their potential. So, signing Sainz would definitely have a massive impact on how Verstappen would defend his titles in the new era. Another scenario towards which Red Bull might be moving is promoting Ricciardo, something they've promised in the past to the former Red Bull driver who is now on loan in AlphaTauri, to the seat right next to Verstappen. This way, Perez's fate would definitely be sealed, and he would find it extremely hard to find another spot, and Red Bull would get what they longed for quite some time, a strong second driver who could defend Verstappen and wouldn't have championship tendencies in his mind. This is definitely what Ricciardo checks all the boxes for, but Sainz doesn't, and it's hard to imagine that he would be accepting the number 2 role in Red Bull if he's offered the opportunity to lead Audi in their new journey in Formula 1. And what is Mercedes left with? Well, they could very well promote Kimi Antonelli and decide to rebuild the team with brand new talent, something that Red Bull did with Verstappen back in 2016, with the difference that now it's Mercedes that's chasing performance gains. While it's hard to imagine that they would immediately give their junior driver a seat in one of the most powerful cars on the grid without zero experience, it might be a desperate move, and they could be betting hard on their future because from what's available on the table, the only long-term solution lies in Kimi Antonelli and potentially Alex Albon, who is still under a contract with Red Bull and is very unlikely to be given to Mercedes just like that.